Transport Canada is freezing rebate payments for Tesla until each claim is individually investigated.
Mark Carney campaigning in Windsor, the heart of Canada's auto sector, at a moment of crisis.
Donna, vehicles are Canada's second largest export by value at $51 billion. The vast majority of those, 93%, go to the U.S.
Go f yourself. But go f yourself. Is that clear? Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
What?
It's really come as quite a shock to me that there's this level of really hatred and violence. I think we just have a deranged... there's some kind of mental illness thing going on here, because this doesn't make any sense.
Tensions are flaring once again as U.S. Canada relations hit a new low following a major announcement from President Donald Trump. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the automobile sector and beyond, the Trump administration will impose a sweeping 25% tariff on imported cars. This drastic measure, designed to bolster American manufacturing, has drawn heavy criticism and unleashed a growing economic battle between the closest of neighbors. Canada, blindsided by the announcement, is gearing up for an aggressive response, and the diplomatic tone between the two nations has turned icy. Prime Minister Mark Carney has made it clear that the old relationship between Canada and the United States, built on decades of integrated economies and military cooperation, is over. Today we'll dive deep into what this means, how it affects both nations, and the consequences this growing rift may have for industries as diverse as automotive manufacturing to electric vehicles. The seeds of this conflict were planted when President Trump unveiled the dramatic tariff decision in a fiery press briefing, doubling down on his pledge to prioritize Made in America policies. Donald Trump: we're implementing a 25% tariff on all cars that are not manufactured in the United States. If they're made here, there's absolutely no tariff. None. While his supporters cheered the move as a victory for American jobs, global markets reacted almost instantaneously. Shares of General Motors, Ford, and other legacy automakers tumbled, reflecting Wall Street's concerns about the ripple effects of the policy. The numbers are staggering. The U.S. imports nearly 8 million vehicles yearly, equating to around $240 billion in trade volume. Even U.S.-based manufacturers rely heavily on international supply chains for key components. By destabilizing these networks, experts warn the Trump tariffs could drive up production costs and bleed into consumer pricing. This spells uncertainty not just for automakers but for American families hoping to buy their next car. Trump's justification is straightforward. He believes the tariff will boost local car production, make supply chains more efficient, and end what he described as ridiculous integration between the economies of the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. But his closest neighbor has taken significant offense. In an emergency cabinet meeting in Ottawa, Prime Minister Mark Carney made an explosive statement. Mark Carney: the old relationship we had with the United States, built on tightly interconnected economies and collaborative security partnerships, is over. It's time for Canada to reimagine its path forward. This marked a decisive shift in Canada's stance. Historically, the United States and Canada have shared a trade relationship grounded in mutual dependency, free-flowing goods across the border, a legacy bolstered by agreements like the Canada-U.S. Automotive Products Agreement of 1965. Now those shared economic ties are unraveling. At the meeting's conclusion, Carney outlined a plan to impose retaliatory tariffs on American goods, projected to total over $42 billion. And while details on specific targets are still emerging, Carney emphasized they would strike where it hurts the U.S. economy most. We aren't playing a passive role. Canada's automotive industry will survive, but to do so, we must radically restructure our economy. This isn't just about trade policy. This is about national resilience. One of the most contentious subplots of this trade war involves electric vehicles. While traditional auto companies are seeing significant declines on the stock market, companies like Tesla and Rivian have bucked the trend. Tesla, in particular, emerged as an unexpected beneficiary of Trump's policies. As imports from Europe and Asia are taxed heavily, Tesla, with its domestic production hubs, is better positioned within the U.S. market. Investors took notice, pushing up Tesla's shares, even as the broader automotive sector dipped. But the celebration might be premature. Canada has flexed its regulatory muscle, targeting Tesla directly. Transport Minister Chrystia Freeland announced the suspension of $43 million in electric vehicle rebates, specifically tied to Tesla models. Why? Canadian regulators accused Tesla of making suspiciously high volumes of rebate claims just before the expiration of an earlier government subsidy program. Freeland vowed to exclude Tesla from future zero-emission vehicle rebates entirely, labeling the move both punitive and ethical. For Tesla CEO Elon Musk, this could not have come at a worse time. The automaker already faces stiff competition from Chinese EV manufacturers like BYD and XPeng, as well as mounting regulatory challenges in Europe. Canada's decision to target Tesla signals that global governments may increasingly use regulatory tools to retaliate in broader geopolitical conflicts. However, the stakes of this quarrel extend far beyond Tesla or tariffs. What's currently unfolding has far-reaching implications for global trade, multilateralism, and even consumer spending habits. Across the Atlantic, European leaders have expressed alarm over Trump's unilateral tariff approach. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen criticized the move as a disruption to free trade rules. Meanwhile, German automotive leaders warned that disruptions to the North American market would inevitably hurt European automakers as well. Developing countries too are caught in this geopolitical domino effect. Canada has hinted at diversifying its trade partnerships to reduce reliance on U.S. exports. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva weighed in recently, saying Trump's decisions threaten to weaken international trade cohesion. Meanwhile, Mexico's government is doubling down on its ambition to revolutionize its EV market by promoting its first-ever domestic electric vehicle project, Olinea. But for Canada, the focus remains firmly on recalibrating how it navigates its economic future, alongside an increasingly unpredictable southern neighbor. Prime Minister Carney has called this a crucial moment for his nation, one that requires bold leadership and forward-thinking trade strategy. One question looms above all others. Is reconciliation between the United States and Canada possible? Analysts are divided. While hopes briefly rose earlier this year, fueled by the removal of U.S. tariffs on Canadian electricity, Trump's latest decisions have escalated distrust. Experts predict that Canada's retaliatory tariffs will likely coincide with the implementation period of the U.S. automotive tariffs, scheduled for April 2nd. These actions will further sour relations. And though President Trump appears focused on shielding domestic automakers, the reality is that these protectionist measures come with risks. Supply chain disruptions, retaliatory policies, and global trade inefficiencies could offset the short-term gains of local job growth. What remains to be seen is whether both nations can push past their differences and address the larger structural shifts happening in the global economy. From the rise of Chinese automakers to the mounting challenges posed by climate change, collaboration, not division, may ultimately determine competitiveness on the world stage. The stakes have never been higher, and as this economic chess match continues, one thing is abundantly clear. The era of deep U.S. Canada integration is rapidly fading. Time will tell what new relationship emerges from the ashes. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to stay informed as this historic standoff unfolds.